Everybody just to make it. What is the chart? Hi Tara, how are you? Just to me.
You're watching BBC World News. I'm Abita Shah with the headlines. A desperate search for survivors in Turkey after a large earthquake hits the city of Izmir. Initial figures say 4 people have died and over 100 are injured. The magnitude 7 earthquake caused a sea surge, sending water and debris rushing through the streets of the city.
We felt the earthquake quite violently. The entire house shook, and my wife and I, we grabbed the baby and ran outside.
In other news, campaigning moves to America's industrial Midwest after Biden and Trump made their case in Florida in a final blitz as battleground states. And in business news, Eurozone economies bounced back over the last 3 months, but it's not enough to reverse the declines of the first half of the 2020. We'll have more with Aaron Heatherland. Hello and welcome to BBC World News. We begin this hour with our developing breaking news story that a powerful earthquake has struck off Turkey's Aegean coast north of the Greek island of Samos. The magnitude 7 earthquake took place about 17 kilometers off the coast of western Izmir province, and it was felt as far away as Athens and Istanbul, according to the US Geological Survey. Now, we have the latest figures saying that at least 100 people have been injured. We understand from officials that 4 people have lost their lives in the Turkish city of Izmir. These pictures came into us a short time ago showing the buildings that had collapsed with smoke in the air. A number of videos have been posted on social media showing people searching through the rubble of collapsed buildings, and we're still waiting for verification on a number of those videos as well. We also understand that an alert of a mini tsunami was issued, and we have a number of pictures coming into us showing a number of streets in the province of Samos and indeed in the city of Izmir that had water running through, gushing through the streets as well. I think we can bring you there. This is the scene of those pictures I was just describing. There you can see a lot of debris in the streets and how high the level of that water is against the sides of the building here. A lot of shock completely of the residents there that have been affected, still very much coming to terms with this. the first recording of this earthquake was about 11:50 local time GMT. We're going to get more now from someone who was directly affected by this, and it's Manos Stephanakis, who is a local news editor in the Greek island of Samos. Manos, firstly, thank you so much for giving us your time, and I'm glad to see that you're safe. But just describe to us what happened when the earthquake struck where you were.
Good afternoon from Samos Island. It was an experience, what an experience. I had my radio show 10 minutes before 2 o'clock at noon, and exactly that time, immediately the building started to shake. A very strong shake, which lasted, that was the basic characteristic. In time, it lasted more than 35 seconds. It was something that you have to live with it to understand how it feels. So immediately we saw equipment ended up on the floor. Later, after 1 minute, we saw that we had no electricity at all. Then I found out that it was all over the island. After some time, we went outside the building because the radio station is on the second floor of the building, which is close to the port of Samos Island, of Samos town, I mean, which is the capital. So the main thing is that we have only 5 people which are lightly injured in the hospital of Samos, and 3 people who are lightly injured in Karlovasi, which is the biggest second town of Samos Island. So until now, we don't have a tsunami, we don't have such things. The weather is fine, and this will help for the next hours because we have light earthquakes. You can understand this because after 6.7 Richters, we will have many earthquakes, but until now, they're very light. We can feel it even now that I talk to you. So the night will be long. We expect this 48 next hours, as the special scientists say, and the weather is fine, which is good that we can stay outside, that we need to stay outside all these hours.
Manos, this is incredible that you're saying that you're currently experiencing, as you're talking to us, the aftershocks of this main earthquake. How are you feeling at this moment?
Now I'm calm. Now I'm okay. I was calm also at the time of the earthquake because I couldn't do anything at that time. So I had to stay there with my colleague who was there in the console of sound. And they said, okay, it will pass. Okay, it will pass. And then I understood that it don't pass it. I mean, after 30 seconds, and it still was there, shaking. It was amazing. I have to mention that the scientists say that in our area, in Samos Island, we had a similar earthquake in 1904, and it was 6.9 Richter. Today we had 6.7. So in the beginning of the 20th century, we had similar earthquake like today.
It's incredible that you're able to stay so calm, and I'm incredibly pleased to hear that, as you said, minor injuries to those of the people that you know of.
It's amazing that we had so small, only few people who were injured lightly, as they told me from the hospital.
Yes,
because
indeed.
After only shaking, I thought we would have dead people. You know what I mean? It was a feeling that something very bad happened also to people. But
well, sadly, Manos, we're hearing that people have lost their lives. We understand that 4 people have died in the city of Izmir, and that we understand that at least 100 people have been injured. I don't know if you've been able to see, but we've been showing our viewers pictures that we're getting from Izmir of these incredible scenes of devastation, of the water gushing through the streets. I'm wondering if you have heard from anybody or any colleagues that may be in Izmir at this hour.
No, I don't know. I saw the pictures, and I think the disaster in Turkey will be bigger from what I see.
Yeah,
and I compare it with our buildings here in Samos.
Manos, we're grateful for you sharing your insights and what happened to you just a short time ago. Our thoughts are with you all there on the island of Samos. But thank you so much for joining us, Manos Stephanakis there. Manos just confirming there that where he was, he could feel the earthquake lasting for almost 45 seconds. And as Manos said, just a few minor injuries to the people that he knew in the area, but a sense of calm there. But of course, as we've been hearing, the epicenter of this earthquake struck some 17 kilometers Izmir, the city of Izmir, which has a population of about 3 million people. And that's where we understand that at least 4 people have lost their lives. But we are following that closely for you and we'll bring you more as soon as we get it. Let's return now to the race to be the next US president. Spending on the election campaign is predicted to reach a record $11 billion by November. That's 50% more than 2016. The Democrats and Republicans have their own fundraising websites. ActBlue, the Democratic fundraising website, processed $1.5 billion in donations over the July to September period, while the Republican fundraising website, WinRed, that processed more than $620 million in donations during the same period. So who is donating the money and what is it spent on? Where does it go? Well, let's find out more. We are now joined by Richard Griffiths, the Professor of Legislation at Columbia University in New York, and Suzanne Lynch, Washington correspondent for the Irish Times. Both of you, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Money and politics, they seem to go hand in hand in America. Susan, firstly to you, why is it so important, do you think, for the campaigning of both these men to pump that money in?
Yeah, I mean, just to say here, we're a few days away from the election and the ads are coming thick and fast here, particularly on TV and cable news networks in some of the swing states like Florida, like South Carolina. I've been in some of those states over the last few weeks and there's a constant bombardment of ads, but targeted ads of these very important voters. Also in parallel, you have a lot more spending now on digital advertising. Obviously, there's been a revolution in the way candidates can make money now since the advent of the internet. And you're seeing more and more kind of ordinary voters, ordinary people donating small amounts to these platforms you just mentioned, like the ActBlue, so they can, contribute to the candidate of their choice. So we've got this dual track, if you like, at the moment, TV and traditional print advertising and digital advertising that is getting much more important.
Yeah, that's really changed, hasn't it, when we look to what happened in 2016 to where we're at today. Richard, can you describe to us what the restrictions are in terms of spending and the donors as well? Because there's a lot of regulation on this.
There aren't really any restrictions on spending. There are restrictions on donations, but those really only apply on direct donations to the candidates themselves or the political parties. There is a cap, I think this year it's $2,800 per person per election to give to a candidate. The caps on donations to the parties are higher, but there are other major players in the campaign beyond the candidates and the parties are so-called independent committees, on which there is, for many of them, there's no limit on how much they can take and no limit on how much they can spend. So we have pretty good records on what the candidates are taking in and spending, and on what the political parties are taking in and spending. The records on what independent committees, the so-called, we use a lot of terminology, I'll call them drug money groups, are taking in and spending is a lot less clear, especially they're spending not on broadcast, but they're spending on social media, on the internet, and other fora for which there are no good records kept.
And Suzanne, does the amount of money that people are piling into these campaigns, for example, if we just look at the figures that I just read out, the Democrats are spending more than the Republicans, does that actually translate into who's going to win this election?
Look, that is the key question in so many ways. At the moment, as you mentioned there, Democrats are spending more money. They're getting more fundraising in. And this has been a change from the beginning of the year. Donald Trump began to fundraise essentially for his re-election as soon as he got inaugurated in January 2017. And he had quite a big war chest going into this election campaign. But what's happened on the Democratic side is that since the Democrats coalesced around Joe Biden as their candidate, the money has started pouring into him. He is now passed out Donald Trump in terms of fundraising. Now, the Trump campaign will be the first people to say, does this matter? Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton's fundraising dwarfed that of Donald Trump, and we know what happened. Hillary Clinton did not win the election. So, it's not quite clear how it's going to impact the result. But I do think what's crucial is that it could impact, as I say, these targeted ads in key swing states and targeted ads online where you're able to tailor your message more. You can appeal to the suburban woman, for example, who's become this elusive voter and emit signs that those kind of voters are turning against away from Donald Trump.
Okay.
Facebook ads, other social media ads allows campaigns to target those ads at those specific people. So in that form, yes, it could have an influence.
And Richard, for you, I mean, how have things changed in terms of the amount of money that's been spent, for example, on social media?
Everything has gone up. Again, hard to know for sure because disclosure laws don't apply. So it's actually the people advertising in social media, many of them don't have to report. So we actually have unclear data. But certainly the normal data is that it's huge. I also want to underscore it's not just a presidential election. Huge amounts of money. The Senate is up, or actually the Senate and the House of Representatives are up for grabs this year. The House, although there's some very, very expensive House races, the outcome in the House is likely to be hugely Democratic control. But the control of the Senate is on a knife edge. And there are unprecedented amounts of money flowing into Senate races, including in states with very small populations. So the amount of fundraising that's going into the Senate races is quite staggering. This one was just some House races.